I got Miguel Ruiz. I messed it all up. The cold open, I just flubbed it right there. I got Miguel Ruiz on the show tonight from Miggy's Morphs. You know who I'm talking about. You know we're going to have a good time tonight. Stick around. Let's go. Good evening, everybody. I don't know maybe that's a sign that I'm like nervous or I'm antsy. I don't know what's going on, man. You'd think after a few years I could get these cold opens ready, but everybody's human. We got our flaws. Thank you for being here tonight. Miguel Ruiz from Miggy's Morphs will be on the show in just a minute. I got just a couple welcome notes and announcements, and we'll get right to it tonight. Thank you for being here. If you are new around here, or if you decided to come back after the snake discovery show last week, thank you for checking it out. Thanks for the subscription, the like, all that good stuff. It does help. And big thanks to Ed and Emily. They hooked up a pretty good size new audience for me. So welcome back if you are checking out the show for a second time, perhaps. All the rest of you, thank God. Talk about a week for Thanksgiving. Thank you all. You guys made the show. Do you know, I thought that the 3-year anniversary was like November-ish, and I was like, it's been a week or two ago. I was like, when's the 3-year anniversary show? It was back in August. Look at you guys keeping me afloat for quite a long time. Couple announcements before we jump in. Yeah, thanks to Snake Discovery, I will be vending one more show. I'll be vending in person in Hastings, Minnesota on December 8th. That's a week from this coming Sunday. Yeah. What's that? 12 days from now? Something like that? No, my math is totally wrong. I don't know. It's like 15 days from right now. No, not quite. 11, 12, somewhere in there. I'll see you there, December 8th, okay? That'll be in Hastings, Minnesota. That is the Snake Discovery show. Got another clutch today. It's kind of cool. Another thing I'm being thankful for. I'm not bragging. I really only wanted one holdback from it, and I think I might have gotten 4 versions of that. So we're going to have quite a few things available. But it was an Enchi clown to a double het Enchi clown ultramel. 7 out of the 8 eggs were clowns. 4 of them, I believe, are super Enchi clowns. I don't know what the odds are going to be on the ultramels. They're 50-50 chance. I got to send the shed tests off to Charlie. But anyway, once those get tested, so this is probably going to be well into January before I make them available because I'm going to test everything. But anyhow, pretty good clutch. Got a couple more still coming for the year. So let's see what we can get done. I've got a good, I always think I have a good lineup. I mean, this is what we got to do. That's why you come back, right? You can hear me yap anytime you want. But I think I have a pretty good lineup for the end of the year. I do have one slot open I'm still working on. But in 2 weeks, I got Patrick McKnight from the newly branded Aura. We're going to get into our experiences on this new platform, Palm Street. We'll talk about his rebranding, and he's just a wealth of knowledge anyway. It'll be his first time on the show. The week after, we're going to get the REDLINE road trip crew together and maybe even one of like the B Squad members. We'll see on that. And then Tuesdays get weird in December because Christmas Eve is on a Tuesday and New Year's Eve is on a Tuesday. And as dedicated as I am, actually New Year's Eve, I don't really care that much about, or I could go out afterwards if I wanted to. But as dedicated as I am, I'm not going to do a show on Christmas Eve. So I think we're going to do them in the daytime, in like a brunch, like I don't know, 11 o'clock Eastern maybe. And then that would only be 8 o'clock on Pacific time, but people could be up if they wanted. I think we're going to do 2 brunch episodes. I'm going to call them the 11 a.m. slot Eastern. And I'm just going to do the 2 traditional ones I do each year, the pairings episode and the goals episode. And I'm going to reach out to some old friends, bring them back. They don't know that yet, but surprise, get ready. So I'll have those to end the year. It's been a cool year. It's too early to be doing a year look back, but like I say, this is a week of thanks. I hope that if you're traveling, I hope that if you are staying home, I hope that wherever you're at, you're with either family or friends, ideally both. Maybe they're one and the same. Sometimes that gets weird, I know, but I hope that you have a good crew around you, whatever that might be. And I hope that you do get a chance to give a little bit of thanks. It is good for you. Not that you need a lecture from me, but there's one of the things that I believe almost most strongly in is giving some thanks. So works for me. Maybe it'll work for you. Give it a shot. Who knows? I hope you're well tonight. Who else here? 25 of you already. Look at Miggy brings the crowd. I appreciate that. Thank you all to the audience. I appreciate you guys coming here every week and hanging out. Oh, Chris at B and S says he wants to hear the analytics on that show. You know what? I actually, I wish I'd thought of that ahead of time. Hang on. I'll get them for you. Here's a real life glimpse into the thunder that Snake Discovery brings to Proper Royals. Here it comes. Okay. So I got to go to the specific content. It's right here. I promise. Here we go. That show, let me see. It's well over 3.2 thousand views. And then the rest of the stats are from yesterday through yesterday. 804 hours of watch time. 35 new subscribers, but that night there was about 50 new subscribers, so almost 85 total. It has made $41, which is more than I've ever made on any episode of anything other than like the tips and the hot buttons and stuff like that. Let me see. YouTube has shared it 28,000 times, click-through rate of 6%. And this is cool. Average engagement of 19 minutes. And all joking aside, getting your engagement, average view duration up is how you get the ad revenues. That's where people will pay you money if you ever want to get into this YouTube world. Otherwise, there you go. That's enough of that boring stuff. Let's get to the action. I met Miguel, as you know, Miggy, as he's branded. He's one of the Miguels. He's the Miguel that's on the show tonight from Miggy's Morphs. I met Miggy at, I got to check on him. I think we met 2 or 3 Tinleys ago, and then we reconnected this past one. And we had talked about doing the show before, but the schedules didn't line up. And then, stars aligned. There's always another Tuesday, thank God. And we made it happen. So I got to looking into some of his stuff. He's a great guy. He's been all over the place. People know him. Anyhow, for the very first time ever, hopefully not the last, for the very first time, please welcome Miguel Ruiz from Miggy's Morphs to the Proper Royal stage.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for having me. Adam, I got to say, wonderful show that you're hosting every Tuesday. And like I said, what a crowd that you've put together this November. Like the star-studded cast that you've had was incredible. And to round it out, it's just,
I'm saying those are all the openers too. You're the headliner, man. You're like, those were like the those are like the fog hats in front of the AC/DCs, they're that's all it is. So you got to bring it home tonight. I'm talking an encore, big finish, pyro, everything, man.
No, but to bring it back to what you were saying, we actually met at the Tinley that you set up out in the lobby.
I thought so. And it's funny because they get a little bit blurry, and not because I've done so many, they just do. They're just action packed.
Yeah. So that's gotta be, that's gotta be your first one, right? Your first Tinley that you went to was, or not that you went to, but that you vended at was that one, right?
It was the first one I went to or vended at. I'd never been to it before. And that was the very first one. Yeah, most definitely.
So that's gotta be crazy, setting up outside and getting people to roll through and like, hey, Adam from Proper Royals is out here vending. Like what a just jam-packed location to be at. You see everyone coming in, everyone is coming by Redline's table and then seeing your animals. So I'm sure that was a decent show for you, right?
I did $164 in revenue that show. Like the life is not nearly as glamorous as people think. It I think I had an okay selection. Tinley's hard because Tinley's such a unique show. Like you're up against the biggest of the big dogs, but also the buyers that are there are like the most selective, highest scrutiny. They got their mindset on certain things and they're looking for that certain thing because they're going to find it. The other thing that I think is really true too is if you're the first table that they see, nobody decides right then to buy something. They're like, I'm going to check out the room. I'll see you on the way out. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you might. But I had the bathroom line, so that was pretty good. I got the people hanging out to get into the bathroom right there. And then all joking aside, not everything is just a jump to like the destination. That was an opportunity. It was, as you noted, through REDLINE. Robin made some space at his table for me. And by the end of the weekend, I had convinced with some creativity and the help of Chris at B and S Reptilia, we'd convinced Brian Potter to sell us a table, and it happened.
And now you've got your foot in the door. So
that's right.
I know. I've looked into it. And I've heard Brian is not letting ball python people in anymore if you just have ball python. So having Chris in there is huge.
That's right. Sold my soul to Chris. I was like, Chris, I need some species. He's like, for what? And I'm like, because you're going to vend here with me and we're going to sell everything. And I did. God's honest truth. I did put ball pythons at the very end, but I was like, tell me every species you breed right now.
So, I mean, from that first jump from vending outside, I mean, you did say that you had the bathroom line, but you also had the ATM line. So you could have caught people as they were getting money from the ATM. So,
That's
I mean,
true.
you got $136 of folks' money. So you got some money from them.
I did get some money. But I actually, like I say, it's really like genuinely a microcosm. Like nobody's first clutch is $10,000 snakes, or I don't know, maybe they are, but if they are, you're 500 grand in the hole, So like, yeah, you do the work. Like I joked, I would have vended in the parking lot if they wouldn't have thrown me out of town. I'd been like, all right, I'll vend in the parking lot, So, anyhow, yeah, you just do the work and eventually things work out. And actually the last Tinley the second Tinley I did was kind of rough. And then this last one was actually a pretty good trip. I wouldn't, if I could rely on doing that every Tinley, no problem. So that one's a big networking business, get face-to-face with all your sponsors, breeding, plans. I don't know, all those deals that happen. That's what Tinley's about.
It's the Super Bowl of reptile breeding. I mean, we've got killer shows out here on the West Coast with the super shows down south in California, and there's tons of selection, and Tinley just has selection. It has the big names. It's got all the folks. I mean, that's why I try to make an effort to get out there to Tinley and say hi to folks. Like, you'll get folks from Canada that come down and you get to hang out with folks that you've been talking to and have been part of communities with. So that's one of the reasons I make an effort from California to make the trip out to Tinley. Is not only do you get to see all the folks that you've been talking to online and making deals with and doing trades with, but you also get to like see what the best of the best that people have to offer is out there. So, I mean, my question to you is how, like you said, it's been better from that first Tinley you did to this most recent one.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say are some of the bigger changes that have been made, especially with this market? Because this market has been fairly tricky to navigate. For you to have a better Tinley is rather impressive. So I'm curious to hear.
Thank you. Well, the first thing was getting in the room. That helps. And it's a little bit kind of funny. At first it felt bad. We are all the way to the left and all the way back. We're the very last table back there. And at first I was like, okay, next step. I got in the room. Now I got to get like into the middle of the room. But actually we've kind of branded it that way. Go all the way back, go all the way left. You've been to Tinley. It's way easier than saying, well, we're the fourth aisle to the right down on the left. I don't know where that is. Is that, whose is that? I don't know. So that was kind of fun. I did run some, I hate the word sales, but I ran some special pricing events, and had a good time on that. Got a little creative, had fun. Um, Better than auction prices, less than pure retail, but that's kind of the name of the game. And then building relationships. Pre-sales are a really, really big part of really any show. If you can have your overhead paid before you walk in the door, your weekend is much easier, and you're not like desperate selling. You're hanging out and you're enjoying it, rather than like, gotta sell, got it. It's like it's like you're the weird dude if you're in the hole, so, or if you're showing that you're in the hole. But for me, it's sort of a dirty secret. I make a whole lot more money. I'm way more profitable at hometown shows, where I just go, I vend for the afternoon, I come back, I got my good local crowd. The overhead is next to nothing. Tinley's about the bigger picture, about the longer term, making connections like you and I have now, or seeing Charlie at shed testing, or getting FaceTime with Robin, or any of those things. That all happens at Tinley, and those are like longer investments. So that's what Tinley is to me.
No, I completely agree. And talking to folks in my area, I haven't done a show yet, like with my branding, my animals, and all that. But talking to folks in the area, I do a lot of wholesale deals to them. So they talk all the time about local shows in our area, or like the bread and butter, the bells, the pieds, the beautiful animals, and they're crushing it with the pretty animals. And these shows that you're traveling several hours to, investing in hotels, your overhead's tremendous, you're renting vehicles to get out there. Just if you don't sell, you like you said, you start coming off desperate, and it's a downhill spiral from there, because no one likes buying from a used car salesman, and that's coming
That's
from
right.
someone that used to be a used car salesman. So it's like, I completely understand. So I'd like to hear, now that you've done the big leagues so much, what are some tips for someone looking to get into vending? Because I'm looking to do a show here in like the beginning of the year with my own animals.
Yeah, I would say there's two kinds of shows at least. So Tinley, for example, gets its own line item on my budget. Tinley is really a marketing budget for me. And once I embraced that, I didn't care if I sold or not. I just wanted to promote my brand. So, and I know that sounds like cheesy I didn't sell anything, but I really grew my brand. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it can be a crutch, but at Tinley, I think it's okay. Especially, again, keeping up relationships, finding sponsors, getting the reps in, figuring out just kind of the flow and how Tinley works and that kind of thing. So I got over real quick after that first year of being like, all right, I have to look at Tinley differently than all the other shows. The hometown shows are really great because you can advertise locally. You can market yourself as a brand, when a lot of local shows are, we're all hobbyists, but it can be like literal hobbyists. Like, hey, I have 3 or 4 and, hatched a few snakes, and it'll be cool to go hang out and mix and mingle. But somebody that has an established brand or is breeding the caliber of stuff that you're breeding, you can really be an attraction at a local show. And you could present yourself that way, not in an egotistical way, but in a professional way. There's a reason I put on this silly chef coat every time. Like, it's silly to me, but people are like, I don't really get it, but that guy looks like he means business. Well, I do mean business. Like, let's make some business, like I like the expression, you can dictate, what is it? The way you present yourself dictates how people will treat you. So if, when I was in my professional career, if I was unshaven, my hair wasn't, cut or trimmed properly, or I didn't iron my shirt, well, nobody took me serious because I didn't put the effort in. If I put the effort in, people take you more serious. And that does work in shows. Otherwise, like, think of every way you can to promote a show. As cheesy as it sounds, I love Facebook ads. Man, I make money on Facebook ads. Post Facebook ads with those beautiful animals. I had somebody that's somewhere between an old friend and a mentor tell me the other day, he's like, man, sell vanilla ice cream. I was like, what does that mean? And he goes, and nobody ever needed an explanation of why vanilla ice cream was delicious. Tell them to open their mouth and taste it, and it's wonderful. He goes, you don't have to explain what a pistachio is or any of this chef crap. He goes, it's vanilla ice cream and it's delicious. He goes, don't bring snakes that you got to explain. Let them, and that's what you were talking about. The beautiful snakes that go, wow, right? Yeah. And that's got to be at the core of our hobby. But then it's figuring out what audience is going to be there. The audience at Tinley thinks a beautiful, delicious snake is different than the local hometown crowd that wants the bananas or the pieds or, lavenders or clowns. And you've done a great thing of layering those on top of each other. So you have a variety there too. And then the last thing I guess I would say is you just got to keep doing them. You're going to get reps. I don't know. Your first show, I hope it goes wonderful, but it might go terrible. It doesn't matter. Sit back and think about it. All right, where did I stumble? Like tonight. Okay, Adam, you should have your stuff together if you're going to do a cold open, not stumble into it. All right, I got to nail that next time. You're going to be like, man, I forgot my blue marker that labels everything a male. Like, how stupid could I be? How did I forget my blue marker? So like, make notes, look back at yourself. No matter how good or bad you do, that's fleeting. Look at what you can learn from it and apply it next time.
No, 100%. I agree. Perception's definitely 100% reality. So like I've vended with buddies, a lot of the buddies in our area that they've got banners, everything locked and loaded, like everything's tip top shape. And I've come to associate and hang out with folks that are doing it on a scale that I'd like to be doing. So we're just seeing what they've been able to do and put themselves out there and build their brand like you're doing with the chef coat. It's memorable. People are going to remember you and they're like, hey, I saw this beautiful snake. Who did I get it from? Oh, he's wearing a chef's coat. Let's go find him at the show. And they're going to go straight back and left, like you said.
Yeah.
So
they might not know the name. They might forget properroyals. I don't know. They might be like, I don't know what that means. Something weird, but he's wearing a chef coat. Oh, that guy, he's right over there. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I think that there's something to it. I've told the story before. There was a review that somebody left at a restaurant when I was running a club, and they said just that. I don't remember the guy's name, but he had a bow tie and sideburns. And nobody else in the place had a bow tie and sideburns. Everybody, and I didn't realize it, but that was a really good lesson in branding of like, A, yeah, do a good job and get positive reviews, but B, you can have your own thing, and everybody else in the world can think it's cheesy till you start making the sales and people start looking for you and they're like, what's my thing,
And one of the things that I remember being told early on is, especially if you have a significant other that doesn't understand what you're doing in the hobby, it's what at the end of the year, once you're doing a great job, just show them the W-2. And that's what that branding does for you. It's like, hey, it brings people in, it keeps them engaged, it sells your animals. And then at the end of the year, just show them your W-2 and you're golden. So
yeah. What's that expression? I think they say the best revenge. I don't even mean the best revenge. The best answer. Just live well, baby. Living well is winning. Just win. That's how you don't even have to say anything. I'm not worried about the comment section. I'm just going to go live well, man. That's all that there has to be to it.
100%.
So let's talk about you, man. You need a podcast, man. You're sitting here interviewing me. This is great, man. I'm like, well, shoot, let's just let it rip this way. This is good. For those people that don't know you, give us a quick introduction. What do you got going on? Where are you at? And maybe a little scope of what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I started keeping in 2016. It was a much smaller scale. So I started working with animals way back in middle school. A teacher had a bearded dragon, California king snake, and stuff like that, and I just fell in love. Unfortunately, at home, Dad terrified of snakes. He's Hispanic, immigrated over, so he's like, the snakes are the devil. So yeah, I was never allowed to have reptiles in the house. And then one day I got bold, like towards like 16, 17 years old, still living at the house. I went over to the local reptile shop and snuck one in the house.
Oh,
Definitely
even
shouldn't
still
have
at
done that.
home?
Oh yeah, and it was wild. Like it was probably one of the worst like interactions, like dealing with the snake. The ball python, it was just a normal. It was covered in mites,
Oh
and then
no.
like 2 weeks later, my dad found out I had it. He's all like, "What are you doing? You cannot have this." So he's all like, "You got to take it back, or you got to get out the house." So I was like, "All right, I'll take it." I took it back to the house. Took it back to the reptile shop. I was all like, "Hey, unfortunately, I can't keep this."
Yeah.
Ended up moving out, and then picked one up, and then picked up another, just like everyone else does. And then by the end of 2016, I had like 35.
Oh, cool. Okay, so that
so,
was
so
real quick though. So where did you get the next ones though? Not from the same shop or not?
No, I went on Morph Market and
There you
started
go.
doing research, and this is when I saw the first snake that I really fell in love with was the dreamsicle. That's why
Yeah.
I work so heavy in lavender, and I once I saw that, I was all like, I need to figure out a way to make this, and then I just started researching on Morph Market, found some sellers. I think I picked my first double head up from Justin like late 2016. I was all like, I got to make this. Double heads were still expensive as can be back then,
I was
but
gonna say,
obviously,
what were they going for then? Do you
I,
remember?
I think I dropped 4,500 on a double head.
Holy crap. Where'd you get 4,500 bucks from?
Just mowing lawns. I was always
Yeah,
entrepreneurial. Yeah.
get
So
it. There you go.
I, I, my brother's 10 years older than me, and he's always been out of the house. He was out of the house early, and he's
Yeah.
all like, "Hey, to make money, just go out there and start providing services to folks." So he gave me this book. It was titled like 45 ways for teenagers to make $100 or something.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, yeah. And so he gave me that. It was like mow lawns was on there. So I like started knocking on doors when I was younger. I was all like, "Hey, can I mow your lawn?" And they're like, "Yeah, absolutely. Go $20 here, $20 there." And just started saving stuff up in the piggy bank. And then the next business that really took off was spray painting numbers on curbs. So went to we had local art shops. So when fire trucks come to the house, they're looking for your house number, and folks
Yeah.
needed their numbers painted on curbs. So
Oh, okay. Like
we
I thought you meant like graffiti, but you're talking like stencil professional number.
So
Okay.
went to the shop, got some stencils, started knocking on doors doing that. So that took off, and just over 3-4 years before I moved out, I've had money saved up, and then my first job when I turned 16 was working at a golf course. I was the guy driving the little cart, picking
You were
up the
the
golf
beverage.
balls.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought you were going to
no,
say
no,
you
no.
were the bev cart. I was like, oh, there's not many guys who have done that. I have had a few cart guys before, but they're few and far between.
Yeah, so I've just been working since I've turned 16, saved up money, just doing side jobs, and had double heads. But then the first like animals before that were just simple stuff that I found on Craigslist. Where a couple I've picked up, like a clown, picked up a bell, just not knowing what the breeding side of the hobby was, and
Yeah.
just picking up animals that way. And then as I started doing more research, figuring out how to make animals breed together and get these beautiful animals, that's when I started to learn, hey, I need hets to make this, need hets to make that, and then just started picking up animals that way. So um in 2016 though, uh I had the collection, it was going great, and then 2018 I still had the same number of animals. I
That's
had to make
rare.
I know I had to make a move across the country to Rhode Island because I ended up getting a tech sales job at a college.
Mm.
So I had to make the drive across country. Unfortunately, lost about half the collection that through that
Wow.
trek. Didn't know how to pack them properly. The the trek across country was just super harsh,
It
and
is.
so it took 3-4 days. Unfortunately, I overpacked the bins and lost about half the collection through that trek.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
man. Oh,
So that was about 2018, and then I was in tech sales, so I was making decent money.
mhm.
And so I was like, "Hey, I've got the space, I've got the drive to do it." I was like, let's start investing into some high quality animals." And so I started building the collection again and really started focusing on dreamsicles and building up the project that way. And then once I had a base of females, they were mostly pied het lavenders.
Mhm.
I by this point I had joined a couple Patreons and really hunkered in and was like, hey, how do you guys recommend going about this? And that's when I actually met Will from RCR and
Oh,
joined
cool.
his Patreon. It was really good. He's all like, hey, you've got these girls, you've got, what are you really trying to do with the collection? And I saw the Holy Grail that Justin had hit at the time. And I was all like, I need that.
And what is,
And
and I know the answer, but, or maybe I don't. Clarify for everybody, what's the nickname of Holy Grail?
the Holy Grail is a lavender clown pied.
Yeah.
So it's a triple. So this is about 2020, 2021 that I saw he had hit that, and I was all like, I need that. And so
that was the one, huh? You're just like, is this
I
gonna
need
be
that.
that?
It's crazy. The clown just brings in, holds the oranges on the dreamsicle. It changes up the pattern a little bit, and it's just a much more vibrant base dreamsicle essentially.
Mhm.
So I thought adding codoms and adding genes into that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the topic of this conversation, is how to structure long-term projects. And
Yeah. How did you stay like so focused? So you said this was 2019. So that's 5 years ago you fell in love with that thing?
the dreamsicle was 2016, and then
With the Holy
he had
Grail,
hit
excuse me.
he hit the Holy Grail in 2020, I believe. And I saw that and I was all like, I need to have that. So at that point, I didn't have anything to make the triple. So I had a bunch of pied het lavender girls, and through having basically being in the Patreon and having access to Will, he had mentioned, hey, if you really want to work this triple, you have the girls to start making pieces for it. And in 22, I finally saved up enough cash, and this is the height of COVID. So he recommended I go out and pick up a lavender clown het pie to start making pieces.
What did
Yeah,
that cost?
I don't want to talk about
Okay,
it.
all right.
No. It was I got him in 22 for $13,000.
Okay, and that was a male?
That was a boy, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he's been running through the collection for 2 years now. He dropped his first clutch in 23.
Oh, cool.
So we've got babies growing up for I've got Enchi lavender double hets, I've got pied double hets, and hopefully this season we should see some Holy Grails on the ground, just with all the animals that have dropped from his babies. So
Yeah,
fingers
congratulations.
crossed.
Very cool.
Yeah, but it's always a long journey, especially when you're talking about doubles, triples, and quad, like people starting to get into quads. When I got into it, I didn't realize how long it was going to take to build the blocks needed to get to that final project. So
right. What has been your outlook from, not necessarily financial standpoint, but from that spectrum of hobby to business standpoint? Like, how much of it was important to you to say, all right, I'm going to spend this, and at some point I got to figure out how to get it back? Or was it, I'm going to spend this because I've worked hard and I want to enjoy my life and have a good, wholesome thing that I go do and it brings me fulfillment?
So 2022, height of COVID, I was like, hey, looks like money is flying in, coming in. I was all like, I'm gonna spend this money. I'm gonna get it right back.
Yeah.
And so as we've seen, that's simply just not the case.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
And I taken that hit because lavender clown het pieds now boys are selling for like $800 to $1,000. So that's a huge hit. And so you can't really see the animals that you make in his first season. You'll start to get that investment. You'll start to recoup that money once his babies start producing babies. So
right. Yeah. You're talking 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I went into it thinking it'd be very quick money. And then as I've been doing it more and more, I'm luckily in a financial spot to be in a position to where I can get down the road 4 to 5 years and not be tremendously affected by that hit. So the intention was to breed them and make the money back right away. Mm-hmm. But with the economic and market conditions, it's just not feasible. And we're back to reality and just continuing to breed, because that's why I got into it. You're recentering and doing it because you love it. And that's really the only way that you're going to continue, especially after taking a $12,000 loss, essentially, if I were to put them on the market. Like,
yeah, but he does still have value as a producer, though. His not to get graphic, but his sperm can go a long way to many places over many years. So I mean, there is time from that standpoint. From a strategic standpoint, or just a goal standpoint for yourself, is it more important, just for you personally? I don't have a right or wrong answer here in my mind. Is it more important for you to get the or any holy grail, or is it more valuable to you to go, you know what, I'm going to get there, but like you say, that one thing has lost its value, but maybe the one thing plus a gene or two that's never been done, maybe that's what I like. But that would take you 2-3 years longer to do, perhaps. How do you weigh that? What's important to you that way?
So initially when I first got them, it was to make the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've actually broken down the projects essentially. So I want to see Codom and incomplete, or Codom packed dreamsicles. I want to see Codom packed grails.
You're almost working backwards, so to speak.
Yeah. So those building blocks, because I've seen the most success when you have Codom packed females, and my base has been just recessives, and getting the Codoms into the projects has been very difficult. So taking a step back and working from the double and getting to a place of strength with the double is more important to me now, to once you hit the triple, and hopefully it's a boy, you have the Codom pack doubles to throw it back into the boy. So your offspring is significantly more powerful down the line. And as you were mentioning, it's essentially a world first at that point, if not many people are working the project.
Right.
So
that is actually a thought I had today, because I'm so happy and thankful I hit Ultramel clowns this year, and I've been working towards that for a long time, and I bought those hatchlings a long time ago and all that. But now it's like, okay, now what? And it's almost like you say, you almost have to take a step back, because I could do the same pairings and I can make the same thing potentially again. I had some crazy odds on my side, so I might not even be able to make them again. Or I could look back and go, all right, wait a minute. By the time those females grow up, I need some action-packed Codom, either double, hopefully visual het, but even double het males that are ready to go when those grow up. And like you say, ultimately to get to an action-packed female that you can hold back. But I don't have that right now, and I'm not going to get that without doing this other stuff. And suddenly all that paragraph turns into 5 years that you're working this thing trying to get there.
Well, the amazing thing is, especially with genetic testing, is like you could get Codom packed hets and essentially do the same thing. So if you take, let's say, a 4 gene triple het, you want an Ultramel clown, throw another recessive in there. What other recessive would you like to see with Ultramel clown?
Hypo on top. I mean, we got to get the glaze on the donut, right?
Hypo is so underrated. I love it. Right? So you take a triple het that has genes. I'm sure there's a couple of them out there. You take one of those and you run it to a couple females that you have, maybe a hypo female you got, maybe an Ultramel female you got, a clown female you got, and you just test everything to hopefully, let's say you run it to your Ultramel female. You hit an Ultramel Codom packed double het. Now that you've tested it out, that just cut 3 years off the project instead of because initially you would have had to breed the visuals that you had, and then hope that they were hets and test them out without testing.
Prove them out. Yeah.
Prove them out. So that takes 2 years.
Yeah.
Now you can just do it with a triple het, find out exactly what's a het, and then throw it back to the females that are now up to size 2 years later, cutting your time in half and investment essentially.
This world of shed testing that we've forgotten, like 2 years ago, it didn't really exist. I think, Dr. Seidel could offer you, a couple genes here and there if she got to it in her class. I think we've forgotten, maybe I say we, either a lot of people don't know or recent breeders have forgotten. That used to be what it took. There was no, well, I'll test them, and the ones that aren't what I want, well, I'll just sell those, and I'll know I'll be able to sell them because I'll know what they are. Like, I don't know how I would have been able to sell anything not knowing what I would have had. Like, those were the days of needing one rack for one project, because you got to hold, like, you would just hear people talking about, well, I'll never sell a female. And those were the days when the females were just astronomical price compared to the males. But that's why people just wouldn't let go. Even normal females, they wouldn't let go of. And I still like the idea. It's along the lines of what you're talking about, but a lot more basic, just from a foundational investment. If people don't have 4,000 or 13,000 to buy animals with, you could buy a visual female and you could buy a loaded male with codoms. It's a het for, pick any recessive, not much money, and just get to work just on those, and then make some money on that, and then do it again with another recessive, and then cross those two, and suddenly you're working codom loaded dreamsicles or codom loaded ultra male clowns. And I think we all, I'm guilty of it. We all see this big, no pun intended, but we all see this holy grail we want to go after. And we forget that there's some really cool stuff along the way too, that we can enjoy, I think, anyhow.
Oh, I'm in that same boat. Like, I'm super weak in the grail stuff, which is lavender clown.
Mm-hmm.
But by taking a step back, I've had triple het females that are codom packed that I'm now going to be throwing to a lavender clown to try to hit like grail Pompeys. So, so by taking a step back and not shooting for just the base triple, it's gonna allow you to hit crazier doubles.
Yes.
So,
and you can always go, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You can always go back to the triple, because you're going to have the thunder and the firepower that you're building when you're ready to.
Absolutely. So, just figuring out the way it was told to me, it's try to work projects as pillars. So if your end goal is a quad or a triple, so say you have the triple as your pinnacle animal, work each double and build those up. So once they're up to size, you can bring them all together and combine them to get to that triple. Mm-hmm. Is essentially what we're doing. But another interesting thing about the hets is, did you know if you did quad het to quad het, your shot at a double visual is 1 in 4? You don't get to pick. And so if you breed quad het to quad het, you have 1 in 4 shot to hit a double visual if you don't pick. So
any 4. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take your word. I haven't done the math through, but I can see that. Okay.
So your shot at using hets effectively, and especially with how undervalued they are, it's insane value in the market right now, and people are scared to touch them with a 10-foot pool. Even
simple hets. There's a guy, Dennis McNamara, DJM. He told me this on the show, and I've never been able to get it out of my head. Even this winter, I went and bought a bunch of just regular female recessives for exactly what you're talking about, where, excuse me, it's not the math, but it's what I was talking about. Say, I don't know, what can you get a breeder pied for, that female that somebody doesn't want at your local show? $300 probably, a few $100. You could get, and I bet you could find, actually, I know you can, because I got one in my rack over here. You get an OD, YB, Enchi Fire, het pied male, under $500, you could put those two animals together and have an incredible pied base that if you could make the lead, I was like, why don't I do that 10 times and build some revenue and find new clients, find new people that just want to eat vanilla ice cream at the show? Like, those are still the base. I mean, the pies are still mind blowing to somebody that's never seen one. They just don't get it. It doesn't compute, man. I love that on people's faces.
We need so many more people that love vanilla ice cream in the hobby, because that's what's going to raise all boats, man. The pet industry is what's driving the market right now.
Yeah, I think so.
And so the more people we can bring in with the vanilla ice cream, as you state, it's gonna help everyone else sell more animals. It'll convert maybe one or two pet owners convert into breeders. Now we've just opened the door to a whole nother clientele list. So always selling that vanilla ice cream is key.
I think so. And I mean, one of the things I wanted to ask you, what's the one man's trash, another man's treasure? Your byproducts are gotta be amazing looking lavenders, amazing looking pieds, and amazing looking clowns. Now, maybe you don't recoup all of your money of what they should be worth because of the hets, but those are blue chip stocks for a reason, man. And those are your byproducts. I would think I would think you should get out to a show right away.
Yeah, I mean, all those animals that you just listed, I wholesale to a lot of buddies, and they mention to me all the time, hey, if we didn't have these pieds, because I'm sending out like Odienchi, yellow belly, pied, double het boys, and stuff that just doesn't sell on Morph Market. And it's like, hey, if we didn't have these pieds, we would have blanked on the weekend. Like, and having very colorful, beautiful animals is going to be huge. So, and I feel like I've got the animals to start doing shows. It's a lot of time investment. It's a lot of leg work. I like sitting back. This is my first live stream coming out and doing one of these. I like sitting in the shadows. That's why the room's a little darker. So
I didn't know this was your first one, but you've been on some YouTube videos. You've had people feature you there before.
Yeah. So, but I like sitting back and thinking about the hobby and just breeding cool stuff and keeping it going that way. So breeding, like vending shows, is definitely on the table. It's just finding time and getting out there and actually doing one. So
yeah, and I hope I've always said on this show, everybody has different resources, everybody has different goals, everybody has different things that they value. And I don't know that any of us can say one should be worth more time than the other. I remember in the restaurants, I used to tell people, I don't care if you're working to put your child through college or you're working to be able to watch football on Sundays with no worry in your mind that your house isn't going to get foreclosed on or that you're not going to get evicted because you didn't pay rent. Whatever it is that you work for, I just want you to be happy here. And I don't think you should feel pressure to do shows. I think you could do shows, and I think you'd be surprised. I think you'd do well at them. And it does get infectious, man. Like I think you're a guy. Are you still in sales? You sound like you have a sales background at least.
I was in sales for a long time. I work for the post office now, but
okay.
I will say, from being in high pressure sales environments, being at the post office is by far the most mentally healthy job I've ever had. I'm out in the sun all day, no more stress. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but in terms of I've got all the equipment to do it. I just need displays. I've got a banner. I've got all that. But for me, it's more about getting out to the shows and hanging out. I fear that transition from being able to go walk around the show. Like I hear stories, you're latched behind the table. You can't walk around.
I don't go. Part of it's because I don't want to spend the money, but yeah, at Tinley, I make a point of getting out to walk around, but otherwise all the time people are like, did you see that? And I'm like, nah, I didn't leave, man. I vend solo. I'm here for business. I'm here to sell, and I can't talk to you or build customers if I'm not here at the booth. Did you, when you were in sales though, as much of a high pressure thing as it was, which sales jobs are pressure cookers, but did you ever get like the high from selling when you're just like, oh, I got them, I sold it, and you're like, you're ready to, you're just like amped up and ready to go again?
Oh, I mean, the work to get through that finish line, it's like it's all coming together, and then you just get the adrenaline dump. It's like nothing else. But
That's what the shows are like for me. I'm like, if I get that early sale, like at that VIP, the first 30 minutes when people are in the door, like I'm going to crush it the rest of the day, man. If I don't have a sale for 5 hours, it's hard. Like that's where you're like, your professionalism has to kick in, where you're like, all right, I got to finish strong. Let's get something going here. But if it's out of the gate, man, I'm like a 13-year-old on, a video game. I'm just going, I'm feeling it, man.
no, the thing is, so I've worked car sales, which is a completely that's one like that's one avenue of selling, and then I've also worked tech sales, which is like a consultative avenue of selling, and having a background in both really shows you what type of selling you want to be doing within the business. And I think that's helped me a lot, because as a buyer, and I'm sure you're the same way, when you're going out there and you're buying a snake, you don't want a high pressure salesman coming out to you and being pushy. And having that experience and learning from people that sell that way, I've come to learn that's not me. I like to think I'm a very calm, laid back guy, and I jive more with a consultative approach of selling, which is like, hey, asking questions. Like I'm very curious about what people are doing with projects and how they're building their collection and what their goals are. And then around that, finding a way to see if even animals in my collection that I have available will fit in that project. And I think the more people take that approach in their business and as part of their brand is going to be huge moving forward, because folks don't like being like, hey, I got this snake, you want it? People don't like that.
It's weird though. I mean, I think everybody says they don't like a pushy salesman, but man, there's guys that I see on the circuit and they're making money, man. I see them just moving in it. Now, I don't know, maybe they're selling them for $40. I can't tell you. Everybody's got their own like angle and their thing. And I do enough shows that I don't want to move an animal at such a discount that I cost myself money at the next show, where I could, I think the animals are fairly priced and I think they're a good quality animal. And like you say, if they fit in the person's project that's buying them, I'm confident in the price. But man, some of these guys, they don't stop talking for the whole show. And like, some of them are friends too. And they're just a completely different sales style. And I'm pretty laid back. Like, I think I probably come across like pretty energetic and hyper sometimes on the show here, but like at the show, like I'm engaged, but it's not like, no, don't leave. You got to see, you got to look at it's like anything you're looking for today, anything specific. And, usually the answer is no, I'm just looking. And I follow it up with, well, if you see anything you like, let me know. Cause I don't want to offer every person. You want to hold it? Do you want to hold it? Oh my gosh, I can't stand that. That's not my style, but you find your own groove though. But that's where at the beginning of the show, I think I said, you just got to get out there and start doing shows, because you got to find what works,
Yeah. And there's two different approaches. So don't get me wrong, that pushy salesman style definitely works. You see it working.
Yeah.
But it's like, are those folks going to come back to you in the future?
I don't know. But I think those people would say, no, I'm engaging them. I'm keeping them entertained. I'm answering their questions. I'm giving them options. It's not me. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. It's not my style, but like I say, damn if they don't make it work sometimes. It drives me crazy, because I'm like, that is not me. I can't be that guy. And I'm like, maybe I should figure it out. I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to be that guy.
No, you just got to be true to yourself. And if, like you said, if it's not your style, it's going to come off inauthentic, and it's never going to work. That's huge.
That's the key. You're right. And those guys, that is authentically them. Like, I bet they watch football that way. I bet you don't get a word in edgewise when they're talking stats and their favorite running back and fantasy or whatever else, you know. And then there's other people that are like, I'm just watching the game. It's going to happen or it's not. We'll win or we'll lose. I don't know. Rock and roll. Let's go. Yeah, I don't know. So
yeah, that's why I like going to shows more. It's like you get to go to these shows. You're not vending, and you just get to float around. You're like, we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see where this takes us. And the more you get out to shows that way, the more connections I feel like you can make. It's a slightly different connection. Like if you're vending, I've got buddies that make connections with other vendors, which is a super valuable connection. But if you're just going to these shows, hanging out, like this industry is so welcoming. Like the first Tinley I ever went to, and this was thankful to a Patreon I was a part of, but I reached out to a buddy that I've never met before. And I was all like, hey, you going to Tinley? Yeah, I'm going to Tinley. You want to get a room together? Never knew this person.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, let's get a room together. Now we're like friends talking all the time. So it's like this community is so welcoming. And as long as you put yourself out there the right way and find the right folks, it's just awesome to meet new folks and hang out and get to know people that way. So, but
I think there's a genuine joy in life when we can just be ourselves. And when we find that place, like it's something we like really cherish and protect. And I think that's exactly right. Our little debate there on sales styles or who does this or what it's the authentic person. Those guys that are successful are still authentically themselves. That's just their personality. That's their persona. We both know some New York guys that were like, man, these guys can talk. And then we might know some other guys that were like, that guy, like, Dale Richards at Constricted Reptiles. He was so kind, helped me out so much when I first got started, let me vend with him. I don't think he says 10 words to get it to close a sale. I mean, it's amazing how he does. To this day, I'm like, I don't know that guy. I mean, he's got great stuff. That's how he does it. But that's his style. People love him too, man. You know, so, but that's him. That's his style.
Yeah. Well, he's super chill. That's him. So yeah. He's one guy that's never talked himself out of a sale.
You're right, man.
And like you said, he's got killer animals. I was out at Daytona. I picked up some cool. killer triple hets from him that hopefully do really well and get me far along in the puzzle project, which is another one I'm really interested in. I don't know. I just go ahead.
I guarantee we got some animals that are related because I've gotten all my puzzle ingredients from two places, and Dale is one of them. Where I've gotten them from. So, but yeah, and also if people on the Florida circuit, if you ever get a chance, Dale vends with another guy named George MD, and those two banger per square foot is through the roof on quality at their tables. And together, I think they vend 10 tables together on their space, man. It's phenomenal.
And they do these local Florida shows like that?
Oh yeah. So actually Daytona is probably a different story. I don't know how many tables they have at Daytona, and they might not even be together at Daytona, but Repticon Tampa, 10 Table Island, George and Dale, Orlando, Tampa, I know Dale does Jacksonville. I don't know if either of them do Kissimmee or not. I'm trying to think if Dale does Kissimmee. But anyway, yeah, that I-4 circuit in Florida, man, Dale does, I want to say Dale probably does 15-ish shows a year.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. So anyway, sorry, I got off on a sidetrack of somebody that's really helped me. Speaking of mentors, you talked about surrounding yourself with people that you respect. You talk about people that you talk to and you've built relationships with. Who are some people that you see as mentors, or see that, you know, when somebody says their name, you light up like I might light up if somebody says Dale's name or Jeremy Bott or somebody like that to me?
So starting out, I jumped into a bunch of different Patreons trying to find like a little community that I really like found myself jiving with, essentially. And a lot of folks in the like joining the Patreons, you get a ton of help. Just whether that be Billy's, Justin's, like just getting FaceTime with these larger folks and entering in Discords. I think if you're starting out, it's incredible to get into these Patreons and the vast knowledge that's in them.
To
Well, it,
interrupt you, is there legitimate question? Is there a better investment somebody can make than just getting in at the entry level tier of a Patreon or 3?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And it took me a long time to believe that. I used to think it was a snobby model. Now I have one, which is ironic. I know. I genuinely think that's the best investment somebody can make.
Well, starting out, the reason that they're so good is because you get serious breeders that are willing to invest in themselves by paying money to access the community.
Yeah.
That's what makes it far superior to just random Facebook groups that anyone can be a part of, because you're going to get folks that are just talking nonsense and not really trying to give you proper advice and maybe trying to lead you astray. But when you really hunker down and want to invest in yourself and entering these Patreons, it's huge for not only your development but your brand's development. Like a lot of these folks here in the chat that I'm seeing, like Ken, John, Matt earlier, like they're all in the RCR Mafia, and we've made fantastic connections by having access to the same community because we're all trying to be on the same wavelength when it comes to the knowledge that we're trying to acquire in the industry.
And similar goals too. I mean, I think if anybody could draw up and say, I'd love to surround myself with people with similar goals, similar drive, similar outlook. And oh, by the way, we can get rid of all the trolls, because trolls are cheap. They don't pay money to come troll. They stay the hell out. It's an amazing, healthy environment, man. I really wish it had clicked sooner. Like this show for me was that, but man, I should have been active a whole lot sooner. I mean, what a value that you can get for, I don't know, $5, $7, $10, whatever they go for, these entry levels, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, to circle back to your question on mentors,
Yeah, please do.
I think Will from RCR has been a huge help. Like, and being able to go to shows and actually meet him in person. Like
Yeah.
he's over the last several years, like he's really like sat down with me and like gone over pairings.
Mhm.
And it's like, hey, why aren't you doing this? Why are you doing that? And like really helped guide me towards a direction to where I'm happy. And it works for the collection in its entirety. Like I said, he was the one that recommended I get the lavender clown hip hide. And so, and that's helped propel me tremendously in the projects that I'm working. So he's one that comes to mind. And then it not just like bigger folks, but like actual connections made. Like there's folks that I talk to on a daily basis, like Dan at Mile High Mutations. He's been in the community a long time, and him and I chat all the time, just bouncing ideas off each other.
Right.
Like you meet these folks that are on a similar wavelength and really trying to take their business to the next level. And you're just constantly chatting with other folks in the industry. Like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Like, and even if you guys aren't in the same projects, like maybe they have an idea that you never thought of, and you're like, oh, that might be really cool. Let me jot that down. And just bouncing off ideas off folks that think about snakes on the daily. Cause I don't know about you, but I'm constantly thinking about snakes. I'm constantly on Morph Market, looking at just on the main page, just looking at what looks really cool to maybe like, oh, that might look really good in lavender. That might look really good in pied. Like just constantly, just the hamster wheel is constantly turning to bring in new genes, new directions to go down an unbeaten path, I would say.
Well, I think it's why bands rent houses when they don't even have the songs written. They're like, we're going to rent a house and we're going to go record an album. Like, if you think about that, that's bonkers until you go, wait a minute. These guys are thinking about nothing but music, or women, or however, are thinking about nothing but music. They're thinking about their collective goal. They're spending all their time focused on that, or the hours that a crew of chefs work together. They're spending 14 hours a day together for however many days in a row. and we're all banging ideas off of each other, thinking what works, what doesn't, talking out loud. And that's the Patreon world of ball python breeders, or whatever 99 other things people have Patreons for. I don't even know what's out there other than ball python Patreons, but I know that they exist. But yeah, I guess to your point, that means I'm not thinking about anything else enough either. So anybody locally, or would you say that your community and mentors were largely whether it be remote or digital or however you call it, out there?
Mostly remote, I would say. And then by obtaining knowledge, I mean a lot of YouTube, watching a lot of YouTube videos like Chris Hardwick, Brian Barczyk in the early days to just obtain knowledge. And then with that knowledge and being here local, I also do rodents. So finding people that need rodents, you start to see who the bigger breeders in your area are, and you start to associate with them, and then you just start to build friendships, and they become acquaintances in the industry that you start bouncing ideas off of. So, but in terms of mentors, they've all been mostly remote. And on like Discords and stuff like that.
I gotcha. I was laughing there. There's always that, not always, when that random person calls and says, yeah, I need 80, smalls. And you go, what you got going on that you need 80 smalls for? Let's talk about this. Immediately, it's a new connection. It's a new potential customer. Maybe it's a new person you're going to buy from. It's a new resource. You're like rodents are like the gateway to, we got to actually, let's take 1 second. Speaking of gateways and revenue streams and all of that, I got to pay some bills really quick. But when we come back, let's talk about both the rodent business, but also expansion. We promised people we'd get into that, and I promised you we'd get into that. So let's do that in just a second. I need about 2 minutes here. Guys, I got to tell you, some of the people that I got to give thanks to, they do support the show. They are advertisers on the show. The first that I'll tell you about is REDLINE shipping. If you're not using REDLINE, I highly recommend it. Customer service counts, expertise counts, longevity in the industry counts, relationships with FedEx count. All of that sort of thing. They put the customer first. These are reptile people looking out for reptile people. And I just genuinely, personally can't count the ways that the team at REDLINE, I'm talking Judy, AJ, Ed, all those people behind the scenes, but also Robin, the amazing things that they do for the industry. So for all those reasons, I like REDLINE. I think that you will too. Also the ease of use of the customer interface. Go check them out. Use the promo code PROPER5. You're going to get yourself $5 off of your next shipping label. Shedtesting.com is Charlie Williams, formerly I've already forgot how good of a rebrand is that if I've already forgotten what Charlie formerly was. What was it? Do you remember what it was?
No,
I don't know either. Okay,
it was Gray Rider Reptiles.
Gray Rider, that's right. If I'm going to forget something in a promo, it's good to forget what it was and what it's not now versus what it is now. Shedtesting.com, that's Charlie, formerly of Gray Rider Reptiles. Charlie is the guy doing the tests. He's the guy doing the customer service. He's the guy responding on all of your Instagram inquiries. And I don't know, maybe he doesn't sleep. I don't know. But I literally just this week, I mentioned to somebody, you should just shoot a message to Charlie. He'll answer you. Like 2 minutes later, before the guy even could message Charlie, Charlie already had a response in the comment section for him. So it's just a little indication of the care and quality you get from him. Over 32 ball python genes with many more coming. Charlie is developing, researching, improving his own genetic tests these days. But currently VPI, Xanthic, Wookiee, Sunset, Clown, Puzzle, Ultramel, Zebra, all of the yellow belly complex, and however many more genes it takes to make 32 choices there. You can use promo code PROPER15. You're going to get yourself 15% off 2 full orders of shed tests. So you can order as many individual shed tests as you want per order, and you're going to get 15% off twice on that. All right, go check that out. RGen Reptiles, that is Robbie Richard. He has a pretty focused, spectacular collection as well. Narrow focus, but with some banging stuff. He's working projects like Clown, DG, and Zebra. Right now on Morph Market, there are clown combo ingredients, but there's also ingredients for things like, not ingredients, an actual male DG clown is currently on Morph Market at RGen Reptiles. He's also got some het zebra stuff, double het DG zebra stuff on there. If you would go to rgenreptiles.com, sign up for his email list, doesn't cost you anything, and you're going to get first dibs on his animals that come up. And it's its own little community, like a free Patreon. Doesn't cost you anything. He's not going to spam you. So check that out. He also has his own YouTube, RGen Reptiles. Portuguese Python, some California friends. Do you know Danny and Renee or not?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We every Southern California show we talk about rodents for about 15-20 minutes. But let me tell you, their booth at these shows, next level. They've got the mannequin set up. Their displays always spick and span, and they've got killer animals. I know you picked up a bunch of ultra male from them. So
I got it. Yeah. And everything they do, spick and span is the right word. It's top notch, man. They don't mess around. And that's not even the promo. That's just why I want to work with them. I'm excited when I work with them. It's funny. The first thing you said was we talk about rodents. The last time Danny called me, we didn't say a word about snakes. It was ASFs for 45 minutes, man. So that's Portuguese Pythons, really focusing on dark genes with recessive single, double, and triple combinations. As Miggy just mentioned, my ultramel pied recessive projects come from Portuguese Pythons. Some current highlights on Morph Market right now: ultramel clown, puzzle project stuff, hypo, DG, and VPI Xanthic triple ingredients with genes like blackhead, HRA, and GHI. That's a lot of letters. BH, HRA, GHI. Go check out their Morph Market, and they're great people. If you get a chance to chat with them, you'll learn. They're caring. They're really fantastic people to work with. Trevor at Ball Labs in Aurora, Colorado. He's focusing on both high-end genes, but Trevor also likes digging up genes that may have been forgotten that we were talking earlier about having your codoms mixed into things that people aren't working with or that other people don't have. Trevor's kind of doing that backwards too, but his current stuff he's working with, things like Puzzle, Ultramel Clown, VPI Xanthic Tri-Stripe, Monsoon Zebra, and Sunset. The other cool thing about Trevor, he's one of the very few licensed rodent breeders in Colorado. If you're in Colorado and you're breeding rodents, you're supposed to be licensed and inspected, and Trevor's one of the guys that's doing it the right way, and he does all of his business that way. It's one of the reasons I love doing business with him. Go support a breeder exploring these fresh combinations and maintaining his ethical practices. Last but not least is Chris at B and S Reptilia. Chris is Reptilia because it's all sorts of different species: ball pythons, blood pythons, locality boas, colubrids, Pituophis, that's the bull and the pine snakes. And I even learned a new word at Tinley, which is Tara Humara. I think I might have it wrong, but you know where I'm getting at. If that means something to you, boas, go see him. I think he still has some in stock. He's also the regional distributor of the Chipper, and the Chipper is currently looking for local and regional distribution reps throughout the United States. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with Chris at B and S Reptilia. Thank you to the audience. There's 30 of you hanging out that sat through the promos. I really do appreciate that. And I will tell you, from me personally, those are all excellent people to do business with. I know there's good people all around to do business with, but these folks right here are it as well. I got Miggy from Miggy's Morphs on tonight, and you're from the Bay Area, right? So a little bit north of, not a little bit, quite a few hours north of the LA area we were just discussing.
About 6 hours north, yep.
Yeah. I won't bore you with all the details, but I was in LA hanging out on a vacation one time, and me and some friends thought it'd be fun just to cruise up to wine country for the afternoon, and maybe we'll come back. And I was 2 days later, we come back from Napa.
Well, it's funny. My buddy Matt from KMB, he's out here visiting family, and he's out in Napa, and he's all like, "Hey, how close are we to San Francisco from you?" And I was all like, "It's about a good hour and a half." He's all like, "All right, we might try to link up, but yeah, totally understandable if we can't." So California is large, man. Like it takes like understanding that people in Tennessee can get to Tinley in just about the same amount of time it takes me to get down to a SoCal show just blows people's mind.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that you don't, but even if you take like my California dream, so to speak, was to take the PCH down from San Francisco to LA. And I think by Santa Barbara, I was like, screw this. I'm cutting across. I'm getting on the interstate in the central. What is that central one there? Is that 5 in the Central Valley?
5, yeah.
5. Yeah. I was like, I got to get it back over to 5 and just get home. I just need this trip to be done. And I think that was 11 hours in on the PCH, man.
Yeah. I think if you do the PCH Bay Area to LA is about 13 hours.
No, I did. I know I did it,
Yeah.
man. And it was 13 hours, even with cutting across that last 2 bits, man. It was still 13 hours back to LA that night.
Yeah. You can drive a long ways in California and still be in California.
Now, it was beautiful. There's nothing like it. I love the wine country. I love LA. I love the grit of Hollywood. I really love it. I don't know how people, I never could figure out the economics of it, but otherwise, man, I love California, man.
I'm in the same boat. I don't know how we make it work. No, I'm kidding.
All right. We're not going to solve that here in the next few minutes. So let's just let that one be. So I think you mentioned, I don't want to put words in your mouth here. Do you have plans for expansion? You said you talk rodents with Danny and Renee. What do you got cooking with rodents in general, but also like, what's the future of your snake breeding and whatnot as well?
So here in the current situation, I'm currently in like 230 square foot of working area with just the snakes.
Okay.
The rodents are about another 400 square foot, and that's because we're in a 4-bed 2-bath. So I take up 2 bedrooms for snake stuff, and then a whole 2-car garage for the rodents.
So you already have 400 square feet of rodents?
Yeah.
Oh, so okay. You're way, way bigger than what I'm doing.
So it's a lot, but it services the clients and my collection that are making it possible. So
can I stop you for a minute? Let's talk about those economics for just a second.
Sure.
400 square feet. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Are you at a point, and I think I know the answer, but I want to make it for the audience because it's something to think about. Are you at a point where you're feeding everything that you need, the rodents are paying for themselves, and you're making a penny on top?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And are you way beyond making a penny?
It's about $1,500 in profit a month.
A month. Okay.
Yeah.
I know not in San Francisco, but in a lot of the other part of the world, that's a mortgage payment. That's rats paying for your largest overhead, meeting new customers, making them happy, paying for themselves, and then paying for your home payment on it.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying earlier, how rodents introduce you to new folks in the community. I've got a client that he does about 300 smalls every 2 weeks.
So a customer.
That's a very large, very large collection. And so,
yeah, not to mention a nice check in that'll keep the lights on at your place for a little while too.
Yeah. And that's just small. So with babies, the last like several months, he's been ordering about, and these are California prices, so they're a bit inflated. Keep in mind, our pet shop is charging like $5 a small. And that's
not that inflated.
Really?
Yeah, I will tell you now, I only know about ASFs. And I wanted to get to a point where I could have ASFs to feed my hatchlings to start them. And then I would go to the frozen rodents that I use and I love from Cold Blooded Cafe. But I went to look, and our local, I won't say who they are, but they're kind of iconic, local historic pet shop, reptile shop, $10 for a large ASF, man. I was like, I don't know what I need to break even, but I bet there's somewhere in the middle of $0 to $10 where I could find that spot and make the customers happy and make money. And there is a spot in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what with this customer ordering about 300 smalls and then like another 150 like fuzzies, pups, weens, like it's about that alone is like $1,000 every 2 months.
That's
So
right.
he's essentially paying for all the bedding, all the food, and basically keeping my overhead and allowing me to feed the collection for essentially free.
Right.
So
Now keeping
and
him, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, that keeping him anonymously, that's fine. Is he somebody, what's his business model? Is he breeding for shows? Is he breeding for wholesale? Is he a hobbyist? Is he just some crazy dude with hundreds of snakes in his basement? What's he doing?
very low key.
Okay.
He sometimes makes appearances to shows just to hang out.
Yeah.
He keeps it's mainly ball pythons, but he also keeps a lot of other species like Papuan pythons and like exotic. He's a hobbyist at heart, I would
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't think he's vended a show or even put many snakes on Morph Market to that extent. So
Yeah. Hey,
very very low key, and it's crazy in this industry. It's like, oh, did I make a world's first? And well, no, probably some guy in Germany has something hiding away in his basement. Like you
or,
just don't know.
or that dude in the Bay Area. Yeah, exactly. That's a whole topic in and of itself. Like there's some breeders that I've met along the way that are just like, yeah, I'll try and make a little bit of money till I break even. And then after that, I just want to wholesale everything. And I'm talking like clown pies. I'm like, what? You know, the work that goes into make, and they're doing them, they're making them. They're just like, yeah, I've made what I need to make. And, you know, they're probably useful to somebody else. I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks like that in the industry. I
Yeah.
mean, I probably shouldn't say names, but Steve Russis is one that comes to
Mm.
mind. The Bells, like they produce a lot of DG and they have Fireball selling it. So there's
But
a
yeah, but
lot
they're
of
not,
production.
that's not the hobby part of it. That's a pure wholesale. They found out what their time is worth, and hey, it's quicker to move it this way, let somebody else do the work and the commission. But yeah, you're exactly right, there's many ways to make it, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of numbers, I've currently got 72 um Norwegian colonies. I'm running 1 in 5s, so that puts me about like 430 breeders with loss here and there. So
Yeah.
and they're pumping out about 2,400 babies a month. And then I've got a small section of mice. I've only got about 25 mice colonies in there.
Hmm.
So
Um, any third species that we maybe won't mention out loud in
yes,
California? Some?
yes,
I
yes.
gotcha. Many varieties could be a rodent. Yeah. Any call for those, or what's the scene with another option?
Breeders really like them. Um, I personally really like them as well.
Hmm.
Like I think they're a far superior rodent. Like just in terms of cost to produce, like with them, I'm at like 30 cents a rodent at weaned.
Oh, what's your cost on a rat to produce at weaned?
Rats are closer to like 45 cents.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
they get real they just eat way more food.
Mm.
They go through way more water, way more food. It's a more expensive rodent.
Yeah, I've my biggest problem with rats is their smell, and I'm horribly allergic to them. Even the frozen ones, when I'm heating them up in the room, it's like I gotta feed, get done, get out of here. The ASFs I do have an allergy to, and I wear a mask when I'm out there, but they don't bother me near as much as rats do. If anybody ever gets to hang out with Jeremy Bott, ask him about the first time that he walked me into his rodent facility. And I had no conception. I was so new. I had no conception of what the hell a rodent facility even was. And I walked in and like, he was like, "Are you okay? Are you breathing?" Like I was just like wheezing, face swelling, eyes watering. I was toasting that thing, man.
You almost needed an EpiPen or something.
I think he was ready. He was like, I mean, Jeremy's a very caring dude, but he's also totally transparent. He's like laughing at me. He's like, "Dude, you might die in my rat room." So, but anyway, so yeah, I've only ever, the only real experience I have with rodents is in ASFs for myself.
Yeah, you're actually the third person I've heard of being almost deathly allergic of rats.
Yeah.
Like I think it's have you heard of like the cockroach exposure? Like people that breed dubias, like the more that they're exposed to them, the more likely they are to become allergic to them. So
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, so it's something in the dust that they produce, the
Mm-hmm.
dubias.
Yeah.
The more that you inhale it or it comes into contact with your body, the more likely you are to become allergic
Huh.
to it. So I don't know if it's an exposure thing with the rodents for you, or it's just
I think
an
it's that
innate.
you just never, most people never would have an inkling of what, like, I don't know all the things I'm allergic to that I've never ever come in contact with. Like before this whole world of reptiles, I never was like, "Oh, there's a rat. Let me smell that." No, I didn't, never once in my life, you know? So I don't know. Maybe there's 99 things that I'm that allergic to. I just haven't encountered them yet. That's all.
I just got a wild photo of you finding a wild rat, picking it up and going,
It's like, smell it. Let's see. Let's test. Am I allergic or not? Yeah. So, okay. So you're all right. So you're already at 400 square feet, which I'm in 80 square feet, 8x10 shed. That's all that I have is 8x10 shed. I've got 45, 1.3 colonies of ASFs is what I have. And they produce right now, the best that they were ever producing was about 800 a month. And right now I'll exceed 600 this month. Finally, again, they crashed this summer and they are an animal that likes consistency, man. You can't mess around with those things. Those things you got to keep level the whole way.
consistent, and make sure you're swapping out colonies consistent as well.
Oh yeah.
That
Every 6 months I rotate. This is really nerdy stuff, but audience, if you ever get into this, yeah, don't pack your whole facility at the same time because they're going to all wear out at the same time. And then it takes a rotation for them to come up. So I have mine go in like a S chronological order. And my top left is my oldest colony. And I've got a customer that loves those big retired females. And every week I just pull one of those and then I make a new colony from the holdbacks every week. And I just rotate up, and you might skip a week here. You might do 2 colonies a week there. You might have one that kills the male and you got to move that one out. But on average right now, it's a really nice math because 52 weeks a year, 45 colonies, it's nearly just one a week that I'm just working through.
Are you is that just for yourself, or are you also selling those locally?
I have a couple customers locally. I only sell live. Part of why I want to expand is I have customers, or I have people all the time that want more. I have people all the time that say, you know, even other breeders that go, there's other regional breeders that'll call me and go, "Hey, I got this big order. I can't fill it all. I know you, I trust you. Can we work a deal where we both make some money and you help me fill this order?" Sometimes I can, but not usually. Like you, I've got one guy, 2 out of every 3 months, he orders about 450 rodents from me. Well, if I'm only making 600 a month, that takes a long time to recover from, but that's a great payday too. So I love taking care of that guy. And then I've got like 3 customers that get stuff from me weekly, like 18 to 20 a piece, rodents a piece. But even just those few customers and a wholesale order here or there, a big order I can help fill out here or there, it's profitable $700 to $800 a month on 80 square feet, man.
That's impressive. That's really good. And this is after your move from Florida, right?
Yeah. I never grew one in Florida at all. This is all in Minnesota. Yeah.
That's impressive. I never would have thought there'd be many breeders taking that many in Minnesota.
I don't know I'm still trying to get my head around it. Yeah. Like it doesn't really make sense on the surface, but then like these icons are out here. JSA is out here. Mark Bailey is out of here. Dave Kaufman, Snake Discovery. All of those people are within 80 miles of me, of each other less. I'm at the south end of them. So like if I was in the middle, they'd be even closer. But yeah, the Midwest it's new to me because I never experienced it before being from Florida. There's a lot of people in the Minnesota metro area. There's 3 to 4 million people just in the Twin Cities metro. I mean, that's a lot of people. And there's a lot of reptile keepers, and we have good shows. Like the shows are really good here locally.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I apologize about the dog in the back. She's
that's
trying
okay.
to get in.
Oh no, we let her in. I mean, well, maybe don't let her. I don't know. She would just shut things. Don't let her in. But no, don't worry about me with dogs, man. I'm cool with that. So you had asked about the expansion. I have a commercial building under contract right now that should close December 6th. And for those of y'all that haven't heard, it's a crazy idea that I came across of buying an old school car wash that has 3 different bays, and it still does function as a car wash. It still does have positive cash flow each month. And it has heated floors, which are really, really great in Minnesota and in cold climates. And it has floor drains, and it's clearly made to be washed down and scrubbed down. It has built-in power washers. Who needs a big sink when the whole room is a sink? Like you can, I imagine the efficiency of cleaning opportunities there that just I'm excited about. So, but each one of those bays is only 480 square feet. So when you say you're already at 400 square feet, my initial expansion is going to be to get my snakes and my rodents into 480 square feet. And then as I'm making money and growing my business, I'll take over a second bay and eventually a third bay, and the car wash will go away, obviously at some point. And that's probably a 3-year, I would say a 3-year horizon. I'll be surprised if the car wash is around after 3 years. Now, if I make enough money that the car wash I can't shut down, then I'll bank that money and I'll buy another commercial building and I'll reopen the first bay and be in the car wash business, I guess.
That's so impressive. People aren't thinking creatively like that much anymore. And I would say it's almost a creative financing avenue that you're going down, which is super awesome.
Okay, thank you. I want to clarify. The impressive part of that is just me stumbling around until I found anything that would work, because I didn't have the money to just go build the ideal place. It would cost me a fortune. The other thing is I failed at 2 other facilities that I thought were gems, and they were dumpster fires. Now, to your point, and thank you, the financing and figuring it out, that was the building that had positive cash flow from day one. So when I asked you earlier, did your rats make you $1? If your rats are a penny, then you're essentially getting them for free. If the car wash makes $1, that means I'm getting my new facility for free. So every month I need that car wash to cover the operating expenses and let me get down to work on growing my rodents and growing my ball python business is my goal right now. What's Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Man, if the car wash punches me in the face with money, okay, we're going to leave it at 1 bay. And that means that I'm going to sit tight for 3 more years until I can bank enough of that money. And then I'll go buy the next right place or figure that one out, which is kind of how I go through life, which is good problem solving. But sometimes I really just want to be like, what would it cost me to just build the right place? But I don't have that money. I don't have that finances to just go build the right thing.
No, you grow into business. You don't go into it.
That's what our Uncle Will taught us, right?
That's right.
That's right. And that's why I focus so much on cash flow. If you could be positive cash flow, you could be rich, because that means that you're covering expenses, and then you have money to reinvest, whether it be a Holy Grail project, whether it be a car wash, whether it be racks for an ASF, whatever you need. If you have that positive cash flow, it doesn't cost you anything then.
No, 100%.
What about you? So you got 400 square feet. What's on the horizon for you, or what's on the wish list for you?
I think in California, not much.
Oh,
just with everything being so inflated property value wise, it's just very difficult to step into,
especially in the Bay Area, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, even if you look at leasing something, it's astronomical. So
how far is like that Central Valley agricultural area? Could you even hope to get something down there? But how many hours is that?
If you go a little further into Tracy, that's about an hour and a half from me.
Mm-hmm.
So the person that I originally picked up most of my rodent racks from was doing a similar commute and providing rodents to a lot of people in Southern California, and it just wore him out. So I like that commute to get from his house to his warehouse.
Was he in Bakersfield, or maybe you can't say? Yeah,
he was. Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah,
and
okay.
it wore him out.
Yeah.
So it's learning from other people's mistakes, and having a facility closer to home is a must. Because if I'm going to be in the hobby and the industry, I'm gonna need to be here to last. So having a facility close to home to where I don't burn out and waste an hour and a half each way to travel to get to the rodent facility.
It's time you never get back, man.
Even if you do have a team working for you, it's just to manage that and not be able to lay hands on your assets. It's not something I'd feel comfortable with doing. So to get into a facility here, like starting, you're looking at like $5,000 a month to lease.
Just to lease. Yeah. Well,
And
and that was part of my problem. I looked at rental places. A snake facility to rent is a pretty customized, specific need. You gotta have your temperatures, especially in Minnesota. In Florida, it's a little bit easier. You can almost run ambient there. Here, you can't humanly survive ambient here, much less a reptile here. So renting, it's not. Some of the places were $5,000 a month, but I mean, it just was so cost prohibitive, and it was like, wait a minute. The weird thing is, commercial rents were a fortune, but commercial properties, relatively speaking, were dirt cheap. I think all the properties that I looked at, I know they were, all the properties I looked at were under $70 a square foot to buy.
Okay.
Just to buy outright. I think I'm lying to you. The car wash that came with a business landed right at $100 a square foot, but that's with a cash flow business.
Yeah.
Like, you can't buy houses like that anywhere now. I'm sure not in California, but you can't buy them anywhere. I mean, I think this house we paid nearly $300 a square foot for.
Wow.
So yeah, the commercial real estate, and I don't know enough about it. I don't know if that's just right here. I don't know if that's nationwide. But that was where I started to pivot to, where I was like, I could buy for cheaper than I can rent if I could just get the initial deal done. That's always the hard part, is figuring out how to get the initial deal done, get the ownership in your name, then it becomes a little bit easier to fund. So I think, to dig in really deep for just a second, I think for my payments on the building, running the car wash, taxes, insurance, what else? Snow removal, trash removal. I'm looking at about $2,500 a month, which isn't nothing, but that's not that bad. I'm doing that in snakes. I could do it, and I could grow. So I might not make a penny. I might not be able to feed myself. I might have to live in that third bay, but I could do it. And if I grow at all, then I'm going to be back in the black. Or if that's without the car wash making a penny. If the car wash makes any of that, it just brings that cost down.
Yeah, no, I really like what you're doing with that and how creative you've gotten with that. That's super impressive, and I hope it all works out for you.
I hope so too. I hope in a year we're looking back and then I'll go, that was creative. That was problem solving. Right now, I don't know if I've solved a problem or if I've just created a 6-figure new problem for myself. And there are days where I'm like, 2,500, I can make that happen. But there are other days where I'm like, that's a lot of $1.50 car washes or $2 ASFs.
Yeah.
Miggy, I have always promised that I'll keep this to 90-minute show, and we're at 101 minutes, man.
Woo!
I know we didn't get to everything, but there's always another Tuesday. Did you say this was your very first?
This is my first proper live, I believe.
That's what I would call it too. The proper live. That's the one.
Right.
That's how it is right there. Well, thank you. I didn't know that with you coming in, and I had a great time. We could talk for hours, and I know we could. That's why sometimes I just got to be like, you know what? I'm calling it. We'll do it again. We'll leave ourselves and the audience hopefully wanting a little bit more, but we'll have a lot to catch up on the next time. And anytime that you want to call, we're in that. Like you say, that circle now, so to speak. Where could people find you, and where can people go support you?
You can check out my Morph Market. It's Miggy's Morphs on Morph Market. Or if you just want to shoot me a message, best place to do that's on Instagram, Miggy's Morphs.
Perfect. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Truly, genuinely fun to hang out with. I say I could chat about this stuff all night. Seriously, you should think about promoting your own show, man. You do pretty good on these questions. I was like, wait a minute, I gotta flip this here. So, I mean it in all fun and in all seriousness, actually, too. I did really enjoy it. Miggy, thank you very much. Let's stay in touch. Stick in the green room for just a second. I want to say thanks. Audience, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Travel safe if you're going anywhere. Look out for your family, all that good stuff. Take just a moment, give a little thanks to, whatever's out there for you that you give thanks to. It'll do you some good, I think. There's my 2 cents for you. I hope you have a wonderful time. I'll see you same place, same time next week. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, Miggy.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.